I'm Jason Las Vegas, and today we have a story about visitors has dropped for a sixth straight month in Las Vegas as the head of tourism insists Sin City is not dead. The top tourism official in Las Vegas said the city has not priced out regular travelers. Really? Even as July visitors counts fell and casinos took in more money from gamblers. Steve Hill, CEO of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, said monthly figures can bounce around, but argued that Vegas remains competitive at different price points. We are not happy with the downturn, but Las Vegas is taking steps to address that. Hill told reporters. Las Vegas saw a 12% decline in visitors compared to 2024, hosting about 3.1 million people in 2025. Convention attendance fell about 10% in June of 2025, but then rose about 10% in July of 2025. Looking over a longer stretch, Hill said the convention business is roughly flat in the next 16 months of bookings looks especially strong, really. With social media users griping about add-on costs, resorts are leaning into promotions. Recent examples include Resorts World, which is north on the Las Vegas Strip, waiving resort fees and paid parking through September 10th, 2025. The Sahara, Las Vegas, north of the Las Vegas Strip, offering free parking, late checkout, and upgrades on select days. Downtown Grand Hotel, which is downtown Las Vegas, Fremont Street, bundling dining credits, free slot play, and no resort fees. And the Strat, which is also north on the Las Vegas Strip, touting something they called a quote summer of value with rooms with taxes and fees included. Hold on. What? Let me read that one more time. The Strat touting the quote summer of value rooms with taxes and fees included. I don't even know what that even means. How aren't taxes and fees always included? I don't even know what that means. The tourism agency is pushing budget tips and free activities citywide. The idea that genuinely Las Vegas is not a value, that it is overpriced. I don't think our customers are doing the math when it comes to when they are concerned with a specific issue. Okay, I don't really want to quote Mr. Hill anymore. Traffic from Canada. This is what we want to get the numbers. We're here for the numbers. Traffic from Canada is down 18, almost 20%. Right. By contrast, visits from Mexico, the United Kingdom, and Australia are rising. See, now a lot of people don't get that information from. You'll just hear 20% is down from Canada, but it says visits from Mexico, the United Kingdom, and Australia are rising with more flights into Las Vegas. Are there any other numbers here that we really want to get into? I don't think so. No, I think that's about it. That's kind of interesting. I know the big story here is visitors are down, 12% from last year. Canada's down 18% from last year. I saw these numbers earlier in the year. It says that Vegas has been down 6 months in a row. I saw these stories come out earlier in this year, and I didn't want to follow it. I don't want to, talk too much about it because we were comparing our numbers. When we first started this 6 months ago, we were compared to when the Super Bowl was here. 6 months ago, it's August now. September now. But, the first time we got these numbers, when the numbers started to drop from last year, it was after the Super Bowl. So, of course, you would imagine in February and March, we had a lot more people. Obviously, in February, we had a lot more people coming to Las Vegas in February of 2024. So I was just like, yeah, that's not really a real number. You don't really have to count the number. If we're going to start with, last year we had the Super Bowl in February of 2024, and this year we didn't have the Super Bowl. So obviously 6 months ago, that was like the first time people saw the numbers, and I'm like, well, that's not. Of course, the numbers are going to always go down after you have the Super Bowl. But now we're talking about six straight, we're talking about March, April, May, June, July. We got a lot of months where the numbers are continuously to drop. And obviously, you want to keep an eye on this because what happens if next year the numbers, that's when that's going to be a real problem, right? If the numbers drop even more from this year, because the numbers are down 3.1 million. What if we break under 3 million, right? The numbers are that close that if the numbers continue to drop, with Canada staying around 20% down for the year, there's no reason to think that later on in this year that people from Canada are just gonna start coming to Las Vegas, especially with some of these deals being a lot of these summer deals, right? You said Resorts World waiving resorts fees and paid parking through September 10th, right? That's like 10 days from now, right? So, I mean, what happens in September? What happens in October? What happens in November, So hopefully, Vegas has been down and out. We have a lot of sports events, the UFC, there's boxing, there's football season, there's a baseball team coming back soon. The NBA is going to be around. So obviously during the sports season, you definitely see a little bit more domestic tourism, but also school just started, right? September. So I don't expect September to be the greatest month. We will have to see what happens when the August numbers come out, right? Right before the end of summer, Burning Man, I believe Burning Man just ended, right? I believe, Burning Man is probably just ended. I have no idea. Today's Sunday or Monday. I have no idea. But Burning Man just ended, Black Rock City, that's up there in Nevada. So we'll see if August numbers are as bad as the rest of the year. Like, the weather wasn't too bad here this year. It was about 116 was about the high. But yeah, let me know your opinion of this story. Have you been to Vegas this year? Do you plan on coming to Vegas later on this year? I also want to start looking at some of these numbers. Where did it say? Down here that it said, that numbers, it says, by contrast, visits from Mexico, the United Kingdom, and Australia are rising. So, to get some good news from this story, you're going to keep an eye on that, right? That's not a bad thing right there. But we'll see, if the numbers continue to drop, does Vegas break under 3 million visitors next year? And, if this year was bad, next year would be almost an emergency. Like if the numbers literally drop another 10% next year off these bad numbers, then we have a real problem. This year, you have a high number to come off of because of last year's numbers. But, we want to keep an eye on the rest of this year and then come back to this story. I know everybody wants instant gratification, but we have to, I live in Las Vegas. So this is a story that, affects me personally. So we'll keep an eye on these numbers. Like I said, when these numbers first came out in February, when it says 6 months now, but when it first came out in February, it was like, I didn't really want to cover this story because us compared to February of 2024 when we had the Super Bowl, of course the numbers were going to drop, but now we're in September, right? So we'll see the numbers in August. But yeah, let me know your opinion of the story. Like I said, have you been to Vegas this year? Some people, in the stock market, when you get a good value is when to buy. Right now Vegas is, I hope, a lot cheaper, right? Probably not the most expensive place to come to. A lot of people buy the dip, catch a falling knife. It's probably a really good time if you were thinking of coming to Vegas to be like, hey, this is probably the best time to come to Vegas, right? Because all the deals would be now when our numbers are down. So I'm pretty sure there's some people, I know we're getting a lot of hate. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Vegas is dead, Vegas is dead. I'm pretty sure some people are like, hey, this is the best time to go to Vegas, right? Because you're going to get a really good extra value because, numbers are down. But yeah, like I said, let me know your opinion of this story. I'm Jason, Las Vegas. Today we had a story about Las Vegas sees 6 straight months of visitors decline. Will it be 7? Will it be 8? Could it be 9? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button. And please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million. for watching.